So I'm just sitting here in the overflow line of the ferry to head across Puget Sound. A 3-hour wait, said the sign. See, that's why a motorcycle, well, one reason, is you can go right to the head of the line. You load first, you offload first. Even if you come late during the loading process, they fit you on. You always get on. And it costs less. But my back's just not up to that yet. So I am in the wee Fiat. I drive this just because it's fun, and over in the big city of Seattle, the truck is traumatic to drive and park. This is much easier. So I came over to visit a friend of mine from the bike club who no longer rides. He's 91, and I hadn't seen him since a week or two before the back surgery, so it was overdue. You know, when you're 91, you don't know how long you're going to really be around, right? So it's always, you know, in the back of my mind. But he was doing good, and so we spent a few hours and looked over photographs and stuff. I'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. One of those long-term friendships where, you know, you just do stuff together. It's like activity partners, motorcycling and stuff. And, yeah. And it's amazing how maybe it's just me, but we have the ability to be together for 2 or 3 hours and, you know, more or less keep a conversation up. Depends on how his day is going. But for 91, he's doing pretty damn good. Now that begs the question, do you really want to be 91? So there are a couple other guys in the club who are retired from riding, who were kind of a triad of original members. And so I said, hey, John, let's call them. So on a smartphone, of course, it's easy to do, and put it on speakerphone. So we talked to one of the guys. He's doing great. Had some good laughs. The other guy down in Portland, great guy. But he was always more tender, more sentimental, you know. So he got a little weepy. But he made the comment too that he feels like he's just hanging out waiting to die. You know, he's at home. He did a reverse mortgage, which isn't a good idea for most people. But if you don't have kids and you don't have heirs, then it's a way for your house to provide you income and you to stay in the house, right? So is it ever a really good idea financially? I don't know. I mean, actually all three of them have reverse mortgages and they're all in their houses, right? So I know John has 24-hour care, and he has good insurance otherwise too. But the other guys, one does not. He's always been a little more of lesser means than the other two. So he has friends who look in on him. He lives in a small town. And he's probably the least isolated socially of the three. You know, it gets that way where your friends have all died because you've outlived them. And, wow, what are you going to do, you know? So you just kind of hang out and, you know, there's like a ticking clock in the background. You know that time is somewhat limited, yet you can't do very much. And in John's case, he's physically pretty good. You know, he was in a couple of serious bike wrecks and stuff, and it shows. But you know, none of them can drive anymore. So, and in the US of A, that is a big consideration. So, you know, it's like part of our mobility is part of our identity. So when that goes, a big part of your identity kind of dissipates. So, yeah. So anyway, let me tell you what I'm smoking here. I'm smoking a Savinelli Mega. So Doug Owen thought this was as close to a custom built as he has yet seen. And I think he's right. Although custom builts come in a lot of variety, you know. For that kind of short, squatty, low cut but thick billiard. And it's not quite as thick in the shank. And even the rustication has kind of a scored aspect, which is different than usual. So, cool. Thank you, Doug, for sharing that. Appreciate it. Got a brown, Cumberland acrylic stem. Very nice. And like all Savinellis, it's a good smoker, you know. So I'm smoking some Celebrated Sovereign. I don't know if that's going to focus. Focus. Yes. Oh my gosh. It's a McClellan mixture, and you know, if I was more talented, I could. It's like 135 space 09. So I think it's from 2009. This is from Aaron, my friend in Pennsylvania. And got to keep an eye on traffic here if we inch ahead. Celebrated Sovereign Pipe Tobacco, a classic English mixture made with Syrian oops, here we go. We'll see how this works. Brake lights. I should throw my glasses on. Yeah. I don't know if it'll be well, it could be a 3-hour ferry wait. 3 boats, certainly. How do people put up with this normally? Wow. I don't know. I tell you, a pipe makes it more pleasant, I will say that. So I'm smoking some of this Celebrated Sovereign. We have a red level there. A classic English mixture made with Syrian Latakia, Turkish Dubak, mature jet black Cavendish, bright Carolina, and red Virginia. A true connoisseur's tobacco. We are pleased to make available once again this original Celebrated Sovereign pipe tobacco recipe. Manufactured by McClellan Tobacco Company, Kansas City, Missouri. Focus. No, yes, there it goes. All right. Green light. So, it's good. You know, the tin note, when I opened it, didn't have that vinegary quality to it. So that may have just dissipated. Or it may have been a little different kind of blend. I don't know. You know, maybe those tobaccos they didn't treat the same way, those Virginias. But McClellan Virginias are pretty much consistently kind of ketchupy. And it's that vinegary quality that really is the ketchupy quality, if you will. Which line should we go for? Let's go for this one. There are 3 toll booths open. So that's an advantage to driving this little car, is since it's under 14 feet, I pay 70% of the normal toll. So you can't beat that unless you're riding a motorcycle, in which case you pay half as much as a car. Fiat has been a great car. It's whoops. It's the Abarth with a 5-speed. Should be a 6-speed. But yeah, it's been a really good car. I've had to do a little bit of stuff to it, and when it needs brakes, it's not unusual in this, but it needs the rotors replaced as well as the calipers and the pads. So, because they're thin, you know, they can't mill them down apparently. So, this is my chance. Get rid of a little pie here. Little cranberry apple pie. Yeah, this is just the usual rigmarole for getting on a ferry. And it works okay. It's kind of old school. Hi there, tiny car.
You got a little tiny car.
I do, and you know what? I also have a little pie. So now this is something different. This is apple cranberry, but I was reading something online. Yes, if you want it. You know, I don't want to force it on you.
Oh no, thank you.
So I was just visiting an older friend down in North Seattle, and it's got we tried a little savory added to the sweet. So you see what you think.
I'm a cook.
Are you? Perfect.
I am. So I love savory.
Awesome. Well, have
Thank
fun with it.
you.
You bet. My pleasure. Happy
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
Yeah. Nothing like pie to make people happy. Happy, 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 happy. Okay. So now we're in line for the next ferry. Let's not let that camera fall down. It's just kind of sitting there up on the dash. Roll the window up here. Alright. Here we go. Now we're in line. We will be on the next ferry. So that's a plus. I didn't know if we were going to be. Wow. In fact, I would have said we probably weren't, honestly. But I hear a train coming. That's another complication that this is Edmonds, Washington, at this ferry terminal, because you know, a coal train that's 1.25 miles long will roll through and totally block the access to the ferry. And so, you know, you're just hosed. Oh, there's my wallet. All right, just gotta get all the details settled here. Oh, but that's good. That's not as big a weight as I thought it would be, actually. So let's do this. So anyway, Aaron, unbidden, sent me this great custom-built Canadian, which I haven't smoked, and it has been smoked, but really clean. And he sent me this Sovereign as well, which I just opened. So, thank you, Aaron. And thank you, Doug, for sharing the Mega. That is as close to a custom build or a Jum, really. I mean, it's got its little Italian flair going on, but yeah, it's good. It's good. So, can you hear the train? Oh yeah, there go the crossbars. It's just a commuter train. So, the Sovereign's good. It's really smooth. None of the ketchupiness, but it's got a nice sort of complex quality to the tin note. So 10 years old now. Sometimes, in my experience, like with the Balkan Supreme, the Peter Stokkeby Balkan Supreme, I've got some from 2009, and it's starting to be less interesting, actually, a little more monochromatic. It's like the Latakia is sort of going into the background. This Latakia is still present. It's good. A good English. In fact, this is exactly what you'd think of as an English mixture. But a good one because it's so smooth. So, yeah, that's nice. So anyway, Roy was saying, yeah, I'm just kind of waiting here to die. It's like, come on, Roy. So we're going to all meet up in February for a 50th anniversary of the bike club. So, it's something to look forward to. My grandfather on my mom's side, her dad, was a small town doctor in Nebraska, in eastern Nebraska. And wow, did he have a lot of stories to tell. In fact, I really regret not writing down, but certainly not even asking him a lot of times about those stories, and really getting the lowdown. So, some of them were pretty bloody, as I remember. But I asked him one time, I said, so I would think that Christmas is when people would perish, especially older people. They're just kind of hanging out. I would think they would ramp up to Christmas, see the family and blah, 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 and then after Christmas, boom, there'd be a lot of mortality. And he said, well, not necessarily. It often took later into the spring, like into March, for people to succumb. But then people would get pneumonia back then, and it was a little harder to control. So, yeah, this is good. This is like what I imagine you would detect as a room note in a kind of a dusty library space with high ceilings and wood paneling and old books and overstuffed leather furniture. Yeah. I mean, it is like the quintessential English mixture. But not real heavy. Sometimes English mixtures have way, or just like Latakia bombs, But that isn't the case here. So anyway, we're going to try and keep them all alive and wanting to live until February at least. So we were looking at pictures, I mean, a wide range of pictures. Oh my gosh. And, you know, they trigger memories. What is that? Is that Amtrak? Nope, that's a freight. So, you know, pictures from trips to Australia, trips to Europe, motorcycle rides all over the state and the country and the region. And, you know, he just can't quite remember who people are in the photos. Some key people he can. And it varies from day to day. And then I'll remember somebody, or it'll be written on the back. Hopefully. That's something we should all do with our photos that are important to us, is get labels for, you know, computer labels, pages of labels, sticky labels, and just write who that was, left to right, where it was, and the date. That would just be so useful. But, you know, that takes effort. And who makes prints these days? You know, there's going to be this huge gap from about the mid-2000s until sometime in the future when there won't be photos, because it's all digital, and then people get careless and they're on their phone, and then they lose their phone and they're not in the cloud, or you know, they're scattered around on different computers, and then those crash, or freaking Microsoft, another local company, you know, does an update and obsoletes the computer. I just got an email today that my big 44-inch plotter, HP plotter, it was having some trouble. That was a showstopper, reading ink cartridges. And it's probably just a sensor inside. Pretty minor stuff. But the dealer said, oh, that serial number says that parts are no longer available for that. That's been, I forget what their term was. It was kind of a cute little term. It's like, we can no longer service that because it's so old, so you now have to buy a new plotter. And it's just like, that is so customer unfriendly. Unbelievable. So I'm looking for a third-party plotter repair service. We'll see what I come up with. Seattle should be a good market for that. Getting that plotter into a truck and then driving it over here is going to be a challenge, but we'll do it. But photos just get obsolete unless you make prints. And actually, laser xerography, Xerox stuff, is an advancement because it doesn't fade, wash off like inkjet. So this does make waiting in line a lot more pleasant than this. But then I'm social smoking, see, that's the thing. It's amazing how that works. I am a social smoker. So anyway, I hope that having a goal in February keeps these guys motivated to keep breathing in the bike club. And yeah, we look through these photos and, you know, oh, who was that? Who was that? Who was that? I don't quite remember. People come and go, you know. There's not a lot of longevity these days. It's just a factor. It probably always was true, but we just didn't really recognize it. And for most people, their kids are their immortality project, you know, and that's rightly so. So treat your kids well so they remember who the hell you are. And have fond memories, you know. Because those photos really do reveal how, you know, there's this image of this person, but that's it, you know. They're gone. Everything they owned is gone. All trace of them is gone, except for this image on a piece of paper. And that's only as good as somebody remembering who they are. But, you know, that's just the reality of things. That is just the reality of things. I think it seems a little striking because we don't recognize it as such. We just think, oh, la, la, la. Life goes on, you know? Like, it'll just continue this way, where our friends know us and we know them and we have these relationships and stuff happens and we do things together. So once again, I fall back to the present moment. Is all we got, man. I mean, we have memories, but they're not very lasting. We think they will be, but they're not. And again, it only depends on who is there to remember us. So, that's a happy thought for Christmas time, isn't it? Yeah. Well, that's how Christmas is for me. It's a little, it's a time for deeper thinking, honestly. And getting together with all kinds of people and saying hello through Christmas cards and stuff, you know, with people you haven't seen all year, kind of catching up. But, yeah, if realities are revealed, well, hey, that's not a bad thing, right? So thank you, Doug, for this cool pipe. Thanks, Aaron, for the tobacco. And the cool custom-built Canadian. I don't have any Canadians. That'll be fun to smoke. Thanks, Ruben, for offering that Brian Doran stubby, and just for initiating a conversation, you know, by a note, very nice note. Really appreciate all of that. I appreciate everybody, honestly, for being part of my life and being part of my story and being woven into the fabric of my life. You know, that's, I guess that's all we can do for anybody around us. I mean, you can, I guess, give people financial support or something, but when people share their lives, they share the meaning of their lives, which covers the spectrum. And it gets woven into your own tapestry of your own life. And it changes who you are, you know? So you all have changed who I am. And maybe I'm woven into your tapestry as well. And I'd be honored and humbled if that was the case. Boy, I mean, that's all we kind of got, you know? Life is good. finally we're getting on the ferry. Oh yeah. So here we are. So it's a half-hour trip across Puget Sound. So, yeah. It's not a bad way to commute. So the Fiat is like 12 and a half feet long. So it's less than 14 feet. So I pay 70% of the normal car fare of that Subaru Legacy ahead of me. And so that ends up being, let's see, how much is that? Like 13 bucks to go across Puget Sound. So, you know, it's a great tourist trip. If you ever come to Seattle, you gotta do that. But otherwise it's kind of a pain in the ass. However, it keeps us safely ensconced over on the other side of the water and protected from all the craziness in